Friends and enemies, lovers and haters. All right. Normally I'm on a little later, but I'm just jumping in the mix because I got two things I want to say real quick. First and foremost, the Climatology Project by GCI is on. We need your support to make this thing happen. Please check out the links in my bios, everywhere on my social media platforms, and message me. We would love donations. We would love all the things to make this happen. We are still fundraising to make this thing a reality, and I would love to talk to you more about it. If you want to help, if you want to be involved, Climb Malawi is something that's super important to me because it's important to see the flourishing climbing communities that we have here in the States and Europe flourish in other countries and other places. Second thing, thank you, DFW. So many of you guys have walked up to me and you have loved the Farewell to Dallas Rocks episode, Summit Dallas. And I'll be honest with you, I feel really weird you saying thank you to me because you are what makes that gym or made that gym phenomenal. Like, that gym was beautiful because of you, because of this community. And even though you're saying thank you to me, I honestly, I can't take it. I got to give it back to you. Thank you, DFW, for really making climbing what it is, this warm, beautiful, inviting place. Check it out.
Hello?
Hey, Bree, how you doing?
Hey, good, pretty good. How are you, Mario?
I'm doing all right. Hey, I was psyched to see you and Cameron climbing last week. How did your session go?
It was pretty good. Haven't been on ropes in a while. I feel like I just need to start training a little bit more again. What was that hangboard you mentioned to us?
It was a flashboard. And I think it's the best one because you can use it indoors, you can use it outdoors. It doesn't really matter where you use it. You can hang it on stuff. You don't have to mount it to your wall, so it's pretty dope.
Oh, that's great because I feel like I can't put holes anywhere in my house, but
yeah,
that's awesome. Where can I get it?
You can go to Tension's website, and then whenever you do, just drop in the promo code Tension SAS20. You'll get 20% off. You'll support the podcast, and but then they'll get it to you on the quickness.
Oh, sick. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Are you guys climbing again this weekend?
Yeah, I think we'll hit up maybe the new rope gym down in the Design District.
Oh, the new movement is finally open. Nice.
Finally, after our long wait.
I know. That's a long wait, but I'm excited. Well, I'm looking forward to climbing with both of you guys, and I'll see you guys this weekend.
Yeah, I'll catch you later. Bye.
Bye. Friends and enemies, lovers and haters, welcome to Sends and Suffers podcast. I am your host, Mario Stanley. If you haven't already, please follow, like, and subscribe to Sends and Suffers podcast. Every bit counts, and we would love to hear from you. So take a moment to leave a comment. These go a long way and help others know what they're getting into and how good this show is. If this is one of your favorite podcasts, consider becoming a Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you are investing in Sends and Suffers podcast, and it's like buying your boy a taco, hanging out, and getting to know the good that is coming your way. Monthly recaps, early show releases, and all the other cool things that we do. Thank you so much for listening to Sends and Suffers podcasts. All right, Daniel, how are you today?
Dude, I'm doing killer good, man.
Nice.
It's been a good day.
It has been a good day. We've done a little location scouting for an upcoming project that we're working on that you guys will all find out about later.
Yeah.
Real. But yeah, I guess, who are you? Where are you from? And what is your relationship? What relationship do you have with the outdoors?
Yeah. So I'm Daniel Pellain. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's where I reside. And yeah, my main relationship to the outdoors is through the sport of climbing. Like that's what motivates me. And that's what kind of draws me into the outdoor spaces. And I think just provides a space for me to like interact beautifully with beautiful places, I guess.
Nice. How'd you start?
Oh, dude. So back in the day, I read Into Thin Air, which is about a bunch of people dying. But for some reason, like that inspired me to want to climb. Nice. And I
totally
like
masochistic.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. That type 2 fun is my life, I guess.
Yeah.
And I that was like, I think when I was a freshman in high school, and I was like a little bit distracted, but eventually found my way to a climbing gym in Edmond, Oklahoma that doesn't exist anymore. And
wait a minute, there was a climbing gym previous to Blockworks in Edmond?
Yeah, dude.
What was it called?
It was called Hold-Distic.
Hold-Distic?
Yeah.
Wow.
And dude, it had a foam pit bouldering area that was like 25 feet. Oh. And dude, it was like a wild place, man. But dude, there's like wood decking like around the foam pit, dude. So if you like were too close to that, man, you would have freaking got messed up when you hit that foam pit, man. Like you wouldn't have hit foam.
It's like old D-Rocks days. There's this dude. Gym called Dallas Rocks back in Dallas. And it was before Summit had owned all the gyms. Mm-hmm. I was actually talking about this in an upcoming episode with Luke that comes out next week with our outsetter. But that flooring was so thin when the gym first opened. It was like gymnastic mats. And there was 6 Asana pads for a gym that would normally have like 200 to 300 boulders.
That's wild, dude.
Like 200 boulders, maybe 300 is exorbitant now. Then we didn't have that many holds back then. But yeah, we would like drag around these little teeny Asana pads. You'd be falling from like 20 feet up.
Yeah. Dude, that sounds about right, man. First generation climbing gyms were like, anything goes, dude.
Yeah, I don't think people know how good they have it now.
Yeah, seriously,
like it was some serious cowboy stuff back in the day.
Yeah, dude. There's no 18-inch Cascade mats, man.
No.
Yeah.
It was. I will say this though. You know, Luke and I were talking about this, but like we found that in those gyms, like especially when you had to drag mats, or like I remember hearing about gyms where you have to bring your own crash pad.
Oh, what the heck, man?
I know, dude. But you were forced to make friends.
Dude.
I think you can be really antisocial in a gym now, which is kind of heartbreaking in its own way. But I mean, I get it. Like people like, this is my fitness now. This is that. But like climbing started off as a social but antisocial but self-indulgent endeavor. Because like, you, like especially before bouldering really picked up popularity the way it is now, like you needed a partner. And you had and like not always that same partner was available. And so you generally had a crew of people you ran through.
Yeah, dude. And like, it was definitely like a small crew of people, especially if you're in the Midwest, man. Like, I mean, it's not like Boulder. Like the people who were climbing were like dedicated to that thing, or they like found it somehow randomly and then like became that way like really quick.
Yeah. Like Tony Mays, a bunch of those guys back in the day who were just like out at the talls or courts
Dude, have you heard Tony May's story? Like, he's freaking wild, dude.
I only know a little bit of them.
Individually motivated people that I've ever met.
No,
and like one of the most like low key crushers. Like,
I don't think there's anything low key about his crushing.
Yeah, dude, that's true. I mean, he's just like super quiet, and I don't think that many people know who he is.
Well, I mean, I don't think people know who he is because not many people climb in the Wichitas. Because unless,
that's true. Yeah,
like,
seriously.
Like unless you live in Texas, Oklahoma, or Arkansas.
Yeah,
and
you
like,
probably have no clue.
You have no idea. Like, because like we in Dallas, we call the Wichitas and courts, especially courts. We call courts the Yosemite of the South.
Yeah, dude, that's what it is, man.
And, you know, and it's like and anyone listening to this is like, that sounds like the most preposterous thing. But it's you get your head right because most stuff is really run out. Like,
dude, you have to have your head right.
Yeah, I think it's like, is there a route to the right of Amazon Woman or to the left of Amazon Woman called Jupiter or something like that?
Oh, I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me.
But needless
there's
to
a lot of routes
say,
that I don't know still.
Me and my buddy Will, we did this like 11C trad climb that was like ultimately run out. And I remember the first place we placed was like a number 4.
Yeah.
No, a number 5
is like
number 5, number 6,
dude.
Yeah, dude. I was proud.
You should be very proud of 11C at Quartz.
Oh yeah, I was very proud.
Yeah, and proud that you just like made it through the route too, and didn't end up in the hospital. Yeah.
There were definitely moments where I was like, dude. Like I'm not falling today.
Yeah. And then, dude, Quartz is so crazy because like it's so glassy and freaking low angle that like, if you blow a foot, like you're not going to know when it happens. It's just going to happen and you're going to be falling and sliding. You're not falling.
I agree with that to an extent. And I definitely, the one thing with Quartz, the beta with Quartz is climbing the dead in the winter.
Yeah, dude.
And then 2, soft shoes. And then 3rd beta is like, just keep moving.
Yep.
Like keep going up, keep going, just keep moving.
Yeah. The mantra is it'll probably stick.
Yeah. Like I don't see any holes. You just keep going. They're there. Just keep going.
I think the biggest whip that I've ever taken on gear was at Quartz.
Really?
And it wasn't a whip. It was like a slide over like rough granite too. But like it was on a 5.7. And dude, there was just this was called South Pacific. That's right by Amazon Woman. Mm-hmm. There's like this 3-foot section where you just have to like stand on glass. Like there's just this section where like the water hit the granite perfectly. And dude, tried to stand up on that thing and then ended up like tumbling like 30 feet. Which I think is like a small fall for Quartz too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That is a very small fall.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. The biggest whipper I ever took, I think, was working on the Velvet Tongue in Black Velvet Canyon in Vegas. And I fell trying to pull the crux, like dihedral, like traversing on this like glassed out, like iron sandstone. And I like just crashed into I like took a pendulum swing and just crashed into my partner. And I did it twice. And then I remember on the 3rd fall, I didn't hit him because he moved. Because what he did is he got smart and clove hitched himself in, but lowered himself way down. And so he was belaying actually like maybe 15 feet below the anchor.
Dude. He was dialed, man.
Yeah, well, because we brought Jumars because we knew this thing wasn't going to go like right away. So we were well aware. But dude. And it just like that last pendulum, I was like, all right, it's time to call it good today. Yeah. We're done for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were pretty beat up. We did not go back and finish that route, but it's something it's on my bucket list.
Dude, heck yeah, it should be, man.
Yeah,
that canyon is so freaking cool. Like
it's
that
gorgeous.
Black Velvet Wall. Like
I think it's some of the best,
dude.
I think it's some of the best multi-pitch sandstone climbing in America.
Yeah.
Like that particular slot canyon. Like, the rest of Vegas is pretty dope and it has its
it's super
things.
cool.
But like that, like the rock there is just uniquely bullet. I'd be curious to like, was it a glacier that just went through there? Or
whatever? Who knows, man?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know anything about geology. I wish I did.
I mean, we have the internet. But we can do that later.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we're here in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Hanging out. And we're going to be shooting some interviews at Blockworks tomorrow.
Yeah, dude.
Out. But we were just briefly talking as we were setting up that I'd like to hear more of like this energy and this kind of grit and fire that you got going on of like why you originally started to reach out to me. Because you reached out to me on the gram and I was kind of like, hell yeah. I was psyched on this.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like, I just was surprised. And and so like you were just talking about like being on the hustle, kind of trying to make moves.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, being in the Midwest, like and being a climber, put you in a relatively small group of people. And then being a person who creates media around climbing, puts you in an even smaller group. So I think I was listening to Chris Hampton's podcast, Power Company Pod, one day, and you were on it talking about Black Joy. I think that was the episode.
Yes.
And I was like, I guess like in that podcast, like he mentioned you being in Dallas and I was like, wait, what? Like there's no like prominent people like who would be on a podcast in the Midwest, or that's what I thought. And I was like, well, shoot, Mario's that guy. So I got to freaking talk to him because dude, us boys in the Midwest who want to do things in climbing have to stick together. So
agreed.
Yeah, dude.
Agreed. What did you think of that episode?
So that was like a year ago that I listened to it. I'm gonna be honest.
It's a grip.
But dude, I mean, I think I was taken aback a little bit by your willingness to be vulnerable around, like, I don't know, like somewhat emotionally, like around the sport too. Like, that's not the most common thing in the climbing world. And it's also something that I respect a lot in people.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate that. I definitely agree. I think it's becoming more common now. And I hope that podcast was like, I hope that podcast was like a catalyst for it. Mm-hmm. But I definitely think, like, in general, let me back up. I don't necessarily know if it's climbing that is it just within climbing. Is it becoming more norm? But I think it's becoming more norm for men to talk about, like, emotions and talk about feelings and talk about how it is. Because even in rap, like music, there's like this poetic sense of rap. It's like, I think it's called Red Edge or Red something. I don't know. There's this podcast that I follow called Crunchy Beats that talks about rap, and they have a great TikTok and Instagram channel.
Okay. Dude, I need to check that out. That sounds sick.
Crunchy Beats is like, I almost wish I didn't say it because it's kind of like my secret.
Yeah.
You know, like you have those like secret things. So, but if y'all heard about this, Crunchy Beats is where it's at.
Heck yeah, dude.
But there was this thing that he talked about with, like, almost like this poetic rap. And I'm on board with this trend. I'm really on board with it because
dude, heck yeah, man.
Yeah, because I feel like people are just like, everybody likes glam rap to a certain thing. Like, sometimes, you know, all you want to be is just thinking that you're popping bottles in the club and living your best life and just dancing around. Yeah. And, like, you know, something, close your eyes and live that life in your room. Or if you got the money to go to the club and do it, great.
Yeah.
But I think the reality of the situation, and much as like I was playing Roaches, who sung that? We played it earlier.
Maxo Cream.
Yeah, Maxo Cream, Roaches. I was telling you about that story about being at a house party with a bunch of randos, climbers, friends, people of all kinds. But then when the beat dropped on, everybody's like singing that song. And I was kind of like, I was into it, but at the same time, I was like, do you guys realize that he's talking about, like, the desperation and kind of his life? And this is kind of like a therapy session that you're listening to.
And like specific tragedy that's befallen his family.
And
that's
trauma.
Like serious, dude.
Yeah. You know, and it's just like, but it was one of those things. And it's like, and I'm kind of going on this tangent here, or going away from it. But I think the point is, you know, music and art is a determined factor of a civilization. And definitely. I think our art as a culture is becoming more culturally aware and more culturally sensitive to things that have been deemed weak. Deemed not something that men talk about. And I think you have trauma. And by no means am I saying like we need soft men, because, you know, to quote Joe Rogan, and I'm just going to say this now, if you guys don't like Joe Rogan, that's your own problem. If you do like him, great. I am mutually like, don't care at all. Yeah. I think he just runs a good podcast and I enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I don't know if he got this quote from somewhere else, but, you know, hard men make soft times and soft men make hard times. And, you know, and
I ask the question, like, what is a soft man too? Like, and like, what is a hard man? Like, I'm going to answer that. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I want to answer that, but I also want to just caveat too, because you made me think of like what I mean by hard times. Like the greatest generation on earth is considered our grandparents that fought in World War I. You know, I think it's like World War I, World War II.
Yeah.
And they made a lot of prosperity for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing. And so they are considered hard men and creating that soft times. And then people who are not willing to stand up for social justice, human rights, you know, just the basic decencies, you know, stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves. You know, making equality, making access. If those people aren't ruthlessly sharing that message with love, kindness, and empathy, I'm a big fan of the word ruthless in this way. It's like,
yeah, dude.
like, you know, and so this is where I want to talk about hard men and soft men. Like, and there's someone else who talks about this, like toxic masculinity being a bad thing and toxic masculinity being a good thing. And this is this, I recently had this conversation. His name escapes me, but it will remind me. It will come to me in a minute. I think his name is Andrew.
Okay.
Andrew or Chad. I don't know. I'll look at my phone in a minute. But he and I were talking, and I was like, you know, bringing up this concept of like, a soft man is someone who does not. A soft man is a guy who's not willing to be that guy. I'm going to say, and I want to be very clear. When I say guy today, I am talking about men, women, children, whatever your pronouns are, however you identify yourself. So let me just, I'll say it this way. A soft person is a person who is unwilling to be that person. Unwilling to be that person when someone is being bullied on is to step in. Is unwilling to be when you have someone being like a peeping Tom and it's just like willing to like step in and just like kind of casually like diffuse the situation. There was something that on Instagram, there's this channel that I watched, and I can't remember it right now, but it's like protect your family and protect your daughters and protect your children. And and it's just, they go into these scenes and the situation. This guy was sitting on a bus. No, these man and women were sitting on a train, and this guy was on his phone, acting like he was on his phone, but he was leaning it farther and farther forward to get a peep under the woman's dress.
Oh man.
And this older gentleman from across the train, like 2 seats over, saw what was happening, and he stood up and he just gently says, "Hey, I have a seat for you." And she's like, "Oh, thank you." And then he just stood there where the guy is, and the other guy just sat back.
Dude,
and
respect, man.
Yeah. And like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you know, and like, that's hard. That's hard. Yeah. But like, some people would be like, "Well, that's not my problem." And, and like, and that's a simple situation. And sometimes, you know, being a hard man is sometimes willing to put yourself in a little bit of harm's way, whether it be emotionally, spiritually, physically, but for the betterment of the community and the betterment of the people that are around you, and for the betterment of people who have a hard time protecting themselves. Yeah. I agree with that, dude. I think the thing with what is happening is I think what is complicated, and this is, you kind of took me down a rabbit hole that I've been,
I love this rabbit hole. Let's keep going, dude.
Yeah. I've been processing this a lot lately because Devin, Dabney, and I have been working on this series with like toxic masculinity. And it's like, and this is where it gets controversial. I used to say I want to see the end of toxic masculinity, but I don't. I want to see the rebranding of toxic masculinity. I want to see the reface, like I want it to get a facelift. I want to be I want to be such a toxic person in the sense that it's like laughter. Yeah. It's infectious. Just like
infectious. I like that word around it too.
People just start laughing uncontrollable. Yeah, dude. And it's like going that, but it's like, the thing with, and maybe infectious is a better word, and toxic just has such a negative connotation, but I want it to be infectious. I want my masculinity that I exude in a form of some form of righteousness, some form of morality, some form of just goodness. I want it to be so infectious, toxic in a way, I guess, if you want to use that word, but I want it to be so much that you cannot help but want to be that same way. Yeah, dude. I think that's what I'm trying to figure out moving into this new year, how to convey that kind of message. And I don't know how to yet. And I think these conversations are going to have that. But this is where I think it's getting a little messy for so many generations. And I'll say, like, you know, I have had conversations with my father's age, my own father, and other people. And it's like, it's hard for me to get them to talk about, like, they'll say, "Oh, I'm happy. Yeah, I'm sad. I'm this." I'm like, but why? Like, tell me what's on your mind. And
Yeah.
that's like a no-no.
Yeah, dude. And if you say the H word, heart, it's like a mega no-no, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and I think the thing is like those dollars, and I've said this many a times on other episodes, podcasts, and other people's podcasts. There are, and you know, I got this from my friend Nadia Payan. I always say Payam, and her name is Payan, and I butcher it. So Nadia, thank you.
I think you did it justice this time.
Nice. But she, you know, taught me a statement, and it sticks with me to this day, and I'll never go anywhere. But there are three kinds of capital that we can spend, and the three kind of personal capital, like just it comes from our bodies. The first capital is physical. We can spend physical dollars. We go to the gym, we exercise, we do whatever we need to, and we burn off that stress and we burn off that energy and we feel better. It's fine, but it doesn't last very long. The second kind of capital is from the heart. Well, sorry, the second kind of capital is from the mind.
Okay.
So you have the mind, that's where you make a conscious decision to shift your mindset and shift how you approach stuff. And it's usually, that's where like, you know, you can kind of get into like a tailspin. I like to call it the echo chamber.
Yeah.
It kind of goes a lot and your things are bouncing around. And then the third and the most valuable one is the heart.
Yeah.
Those dollars are the most expensive. And the reason why I say that is like, it takes 2 physical dollars to equal 1 mind dollar.
Oh, yeah, that sounds about right.
It takes 3 physical dollars to equal 1 heart dollar.
Yeah, man.
So the value is higher.
Yeah.
And I don't think most people are willing to spend the capital currently from that generation that it takes to dig in that. Because the thing is, you just can't use one of them. Like you can't just like try to burn, like if you try to like build up a bunch of physical dollars, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, it creates an unhealthy person and an unhealthy culture in society.
It does.
Yeah,
and the thing is like, I think the reality is we all have those dollars on reserve, but just withdrawing them.
Yeah. I think like the door to the safe gets like kind of welded shut sometimes if you don't use them. And then like it becomes like harder and harder to get those dollars out too, man.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
dude.
And then it takes like these big like sessions. Like I think counseling or therapy is like training sessions for spending your emotional dollars in some ways, dude. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. And dude, kind of diving into that, like, when those dollars have been locked away. I know for like a lot of my life, like, so growing up in the Midwest, like, well, dude, wait, this is an aside. How much I don't want to like, okay, cool. And we can edit it out if it isn't good. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, he's beautiful. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I'll real quick.
Yep. Sweet.
Same.
Oh,
give me beautiful. That's just a spike that I know to like. So when I'm looking at it, I know. Okay, we need to cut something out around here.
Yeah, diving into that like emotional. Well, dude. Oh man. So if we want to call it masculinity, dude, there was this podcast that I listened to on NPR, like I think this year, but it was an old podcast. Like it was something that my wife shared with me. It was called The Lonely American Man. Ooh. That was the title of it. And it was kind of like going through and like, did some case studies of like interviews with like older men who kind of like, maybe were on the severe end of being like emotionally cut off and communally cut off, like I guess lonely. But also kind of tracing some of the research into like how our culture and society trains like children to be that way, like starting out like really early. So like they kind of observed, like they had experts on like academics and who else is an expert. I don't know.
Yeah.
People that are experts.
Moms.
Yeah.
That's
dude, moms are like the biggest expert on the planets, dude.
Moms are experts. Yeah. If anybody argues that fact, then you're wrong. Talk to your mom.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. Have a chat, bro. But like around middle school, like, especially like little boys go from being like like extremely emotionally expressive to like, maybe I guess that's around the same time as puberty too, like starting to like really shut that down and cut off. So then like boys would be like very affectionate towards their friends. And then like those close, like intimate relationships would like really start to like stagnate. And like, as they went into high school would like shut down. And I think there's a lot of like cultural forces acting, that, I don't know, create that in children. Like, I think there's like homophobia that's like directly like linked into our culture at like very subconscious and unspoken levels too, to where somebody's like, oh, well, if I'm like really close to my friend that's a boy, like maybe that means I'm gay. And there's two layers to that, like as if being homosexual was a problem. And then like also like that it would just be wrong to be that close to another boy, like anyway, like, and then we carry those things into adulthood. Like,
yeah, I think it's weird because it's like, if they're not your sibling, it's odd.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I can see that. I think that's also too, it's like, I was very lucky. Like my father was a very emotional person, like almost to a fault at sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, he did a wonderful job talking about, my father did a wonderful job asking me about how I feel all the time.
That's awesome, dude.
And
what
then
the heck?
My uncles and all the men in my family do a wonderful job about asking how we feel. But that was, the conversation tapered off pretty quickly after that. Like it didn't really go much.
But dude, that's pretty wild. I think that's really countercultural that like question would even be asked. Like that seems pretty rare to me, man. Like that's pretty cool.
You know, I appreciate that. To me, it's pretty normal because I think that's the only way my dad could get us to talk as kids.
Yeah.
He's like, how do you feel? Well, I feel this way. Well, what's going on? Tell me. Like he would be like, well, why do you feel that way? And we'd be like, blah, 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 blah. And I think as parents, you know, my parents were trying to, and I definitely incorporate this in how I coach the kids that I coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, I'm just trying to get them to tell me a story every day.
Dude, that's
like,
a great thing, man.
Yeah. Like you'd be surprised like where it takes you, because how many times have we just gotten on this tangent and you're just like, blah, 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 blah. And next thing you know, you like, oh man, I feel way better. Ooh,
yeah.
But then I think this is where the negativity comes out of it. It's somewhere along the lines. It's like, oh man, I feel bad. Ooh, I shouldn't have shared that much. Oh my gosh. And I think most people don't care if you share that much. And
I think most people are like longing for permit. Dude, when I see a person, I like see like, there's like a story in every person that like that person is like begging to share, like whether they like realize it or not. Like I think one part that's inherent about being a human is like a want for connectedness. Yeah. And like, yeah, like some of us definitely have walls around connecting to people. I'm probably a little hot, huh?
No, you're okay. Fine. It was actually me.
Yeah. Okay, cool. But like some of us definitely have walls around like connecting to people. Like I definitely do in certain circumstances, because like when harm comes at points, like we tend to build walls around that and don't really want to connect. Yeah. But I think everybody's still like at their core, even if they've been wounded, is still longing for a connection. And dude, I think it like, I don't know, it makes me really happy that like your goal with your kids is like to freaking like get them to share a story with you. Like humans share themselves through stories. And that's just like a really beautiful thing to like aspire to. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Kids just won't tell you anything. I think they're trained in classrooms and in life. And like, I'm not a parent, so I'm going to be very clear that like the job is hard. And I think
for sure, dude.
And I think, my parents even did this, and I remember this, but like you kind of get used to like kind of one-worded answers, or you want quick answers, like, cause you got stuff to do. And with kids, I find it like, that's normally what they give me. And I'm always just like, well, I mean, how was your day? And they're like, it was okay.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm like, yes, it was like that. I'm like, how are you this awesome of a human being and you're this great and you just had an okay day? I think you're a liar.
Yeah.
And I tell them,
you got to tell me more, buddy.
Yeah. And I think the best question to ask them is like, well, what were you thinking about all day? Like, what was on your mind? And then that usually like opens up the door a little bit where you can kind of get in there, because sometimes the best part of sometimes the most important coaching you can do is not coach.
Yeah, man.
And I think that's something that I've been working on, trying to build this like coaching mentorship program from like all my years and experiences that I want to do remotely. And that was like something that really, really recently stood out a lot with me. Like, it's something that I learned because I remember a coach who coached me, and I was like, sometimes the best moments of my coaching experience as an athlete and as a coach have not been coaching, and it has nothing to do with coaching.
Yeah, dude.
And so that's it.
I think there's something beautiful about that, man. Like, I think I'm not a coach. I am a dad. So I'm kind of a coach.
That's way more.
Yeah. And then I'm like, my son's 3. So I'm like,
it's good
like
age.
maybe just now becoming a climbing coach for the first time. Who knows? But like, yeah, I think like we have to ask like, well, what is a successful climber? Like, is it the person that climbs the hardest, or is it like, well, it can be a million different things, but like one thing that I want my son to do is like, I want him to climb as hard as he wants to, or like it would be really hard if my son didn't climb, but I want him to do whatever makes his like heart sing. But like I want him to be like connected to people and like build a love and a joy in the sport. Like, and I want to foster that within him as much as I can now. Like, so if he's going to climb, I want climbing to be something that like brings him life and that doesn't put like him on like this performance, like hamster wheel kind of thing.
Without diving too much into that, but as a coach, I always tell parents, I'm like, if you want your kids to climb, take them to the climbing gym. They don't have to rock climb. They don't have to climb the whole time, but make them be like, all right, Dad's going to go to rock climbing gym, but you're going to climb with Dad for about 10 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
30 minutes. And then Dad's going to go climb and do whatever he wants. If you want to be on iPad, you want to do whatever, you can do whatever.
Yeah.
But like, and half the time they just want to swing around on the rope.
Yeah, dude.
And then just play.
Yeah.
But like, and then eventually they'll go up. And then, if you go up to the top and you get up to the top of a route, and I tell parents to do this, even if it's an easy route, come down like you're super excited. Like, I got to the top.
Heck yeah.
I'm so excited because kids learn by examples.
Oh, for
sure. They model you. So if they see that you getting to the top really brings you a lot of joy, they're going to do that. But when they get scared and this is the coolest thing I've ever seen happen. So I told this dad to do this, and he in the gym was like climbing up. And then one day his kid finally got to the top of the route, and his kid just lost it with joy. Yeah. But he was just like, I was so surprised how excited he was. I was like, well, because you've modeled that behavior.
That's so cool, dude. That's like one of those like subtle but like extremely telling like parenting moments.
Dude, it's a cheat code.
Yeah.
It's a straight up cheat code.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the thing is like whether they just need to see you doing it.
Yeah.
The biggest thing with kids is like, it's like dogs. When dogs see their owners climbing up the wall, they start whimpering and whining because they know it's not normal. They know it's like, they're like, oh, blah, 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 what's going on? And I think the more and more they see it, that's why like seasoned crag dogs are just like, all right, whatever.
He's doing it again.
Yeah,
she's doing it again.
Yeah, they'll be back. And I think that's something that, I don't know. I think that's something that as I've informed parents over the years, like, your kids just got to see you doing it. And they'll either do it or not do it. I find that most parents that just take their kids to the climbing gym, and over time, eventually they start climbing. As long as the parents keep climbing throughout the duration of their entire life, the kids almost always rock climb. They might not be a competition climber, but they will always climb. And they will always be someone who seeks adventure and seeks the outdoors.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that, and now with the advent of climbing gyms, that might change. It might be like where people go to more climbing gyms regularly. And it's just like, it's what they do because they don't have access to the outdoors, like living in, an urban metropolis or a concrete jungle, depending on what that is. Man, we've gone.
Man, yeah, I didn't expect this conversation to go in this direction, but I'm kind of psyched about it, man.
Man, as we were talking about earlier, this whole podcast is about building friendships and just seeing what's on each other's mind. But Yeah. So I'm just like, I'm genuinely along for the ride.
Yeah,
Like people are always like, do you script everything out? I'm like, no, I have no idea. What's
Dude,
gonna happen.
nothing. Well, not nothing good.
I mean, I generally have like a couple.
Yeah.
I have a couple ideas.
Yeah. Off script is the best.
Yeah. Okay. So question for you.
Yeah.
Why is climbing special to you?
Oh, man. It's special on so many different levels. So I'll say like a couple different things. Like just from like a pure, like this is the simplest thing I could say. Like,
I mean, the simplest thing I can say is I am not sorry for that savage cutoff. Y'all know me. Y'all know I need you to come back and listen to the next week. Anyways, if you're enjoying this episode, please remember to follow, like, subscribe. My Oklahoma crew. I know the Red River Showdown was a thing, but we all in this together as climbers because we're too close to be apart. And remember, if you're not suffering, are you really sending at all? I mean, think about it. If the scent is so sweet, like honey, you know it's got to sting a little bit. Come on now with me. Come to church. All right, I'm out of here.